Welcome to Spotlight on Lakewood. I'm Mayor Adam Paul, and this year we're starting a new series called How Does It Work? The City of Lakewood has many different functions, and we're an organization of almost 900 strong employees who work day in and day out to make sure we're the best city that we can be. So today we're going to learn how to pull a permit at the city permit counter. Come on and join me. With me today is Karen Phillips, who's going to walk us through the process. Karen, tell us a little bit about why permits are important and why the City of Lakewood issues them.
Well, the building codes were adopted many years ago, the suite of codes, which includes fire codes, mechanical, electrical, plumbing, for the life safety of our citizens. And we issue permits so that we can inspect the work being done through the work over a course of time to make sure that it's done properly. We want to protect our residents from any life safety issues that may include egress from a basement, smoke alarms, carbon monoxide, and any other building code related things that will make it safe for them to be there.
Yeah, so safety and welfare, that's super important.
Yes.
And you issue a lot of different kinds. Do you have a menu that you can tell our viewers of what we issue here?
It's a pretty big issue. We have building permits and then the electrical, mechanical, and plumbing permits that are associated with that. Within the suite of electrical permits includes all low voltage wiring in commercial, so voice, data, point of service. Fire alarm permits are done on a low voltage electrical permit, so when fire alarms are installed. We also issue fire sprinkler permits for sprinkler systems that are either modified in an existing building, such as the Civic Center, or new construction. We also issue public way permits, which allows contractors to be in our street right of way.
Certainly.
So in conjunction with that, we're looking at traffic control plans to make sure that their method of handling the traffic while they're in the roadway is safe for the traveling public and pedestrians. We issue utility permits for water and sanitary facilities that are within our district.
Fence permits, maybe?
We do also issue fence permits. We check to make sure they meet the zoning ordinance for the location and the size and the material. We also issue siding permits, re-roof permits. We also issue permits for window replacements now, which is fairly new, but we make sure they have a U factor that is compliant with the energy code, as we have adopted the International Energy Code and look at the energy conservation that a building now provides.
Okay. So is an appointment required to have plans reviewed?
No, and plans aren't required for every type of permit, but for a fence permit, for instance, we do need a site plan showing where they want to put the fence, because there are requirements in the front yard that it can't be solid and it can't be 6 foot. But for a basement finish, a deck, a detached garage, kitchen remodel, we do need plans. And we do those plan reviews at the counter while the customer waits. Actually, last year we issued 81% of our total permits over the counter.
81%?
81% while they wait. And we don't make people redraw plans. For the homeowner coming in, you know, there might be a need to, oh, you need to add an outlet here, or we need additional fixtures here to meet the code. We're not going to make someone go away and redraw their plans. We want to be able to redline it and get them out of here, hopefully on their first trip.
That's great. Be efficient. I
Yes.
like that. So can a homeowner do their own work and pull their own permits?
A homeowner of their primary residence is allowed to obtain their own permit and do their own work. Our Title 14 amendment to the building codes does not allow an investment owner to do property on their investment properties. So for people who own a lot of properties, or even one, if it's not their primary residence, we require that they get a registered contractor for the work.
Yep. And so when you're looking at the designs, does a homeowner have to go and hire an architect or somebody to do design?
Not at all. Not at all. We do not require that the plans be done by a design professional. We do like them to be to scale. And we actually have permit assistance handouts on the website that gives everyone a narrative of what we need, but then also provides a sample. So for instance, on a basement finish, there's a sample floor plan as to what we need. We need to know where the bedrooms are, where any closets are, where the egress windows are being placed. For a deck, we need to see the framing detail and the pier details so that we know where they're drilling the piers to support the joists for that deck. But those handouts are very helpful for folks, and I think we get a lot of compliments on the extent of examples they provide.
Great. Yeah. And so when you come in to get it, I'm sure there's a fee involved.
There is, and permit fees are based on the valuation of the project. And it's not really a sliding scale. That would be too easy. So for instance, 10 permits that value $100,000 are not going to have the same permit fee as one permit with a valuation of $1 million. But there are three pieces to the fee for a building permit. There's the plan check fee, which is 65% of the permit fee, and then the permit fee. We also collect the city portion of the sales tax with the permit.
Ah, okay.
And sometimes that's the largest part of the fee.
Sure.
So I stress to homeowners and contractors as well, you're paying the city portion of the tax here. When you go buy your materials, whether it's from Home Depot or it's a vendor you're ordering from and having delivered to the site, they should be waiving that 3% city sales tax, even if they're not purchased in Lakewood. The use tax was initiated in 1981 and it's statewide. So even if you buy your materials in Arvada, you show them your permit and receipt, they should still waive the city sales tax.
That's important.
Very
That's
important.
really important. And I think it's also important for our viewers to know a lot of our fees, they're just not picked at some rate. They're actually picked to reimburse the time spent for the service. So,
that's correct. We do a fee study every 2 years, and we actually reduced some fees a couple of years ago when we did that. We try and correlate the permit fee to the inspections that we're doing. So for instance, a permit is required for a furnace replacement or water heater or air conditioner, but those are flat fees because we do one inspection. Similarly, for a re-roof and siding permit, it's also a flat fee. The use tax is still 3% of half the value, but the permit fee itself is a flat fee that's correlated to the number of inspections we're going to make.
So something as common as a water heater or an air conditioning unit does require a permit.
It does, and especially with water heaters and furnaces, which are normally a gas-fired appliance, there are code requirements for that for combustion air, and that is a life safety requirement and has not been in effect since all of the codes were adopted. But due to unfortunate circumstances, the codes get amended because of experience that it's...
Yeah, something happened, and
Yep.
always trying to make sure that our residents are the safest they can be.
That's right.
So if you replaced a refrigerator or a washer and dryer, that's not something that would require a permit?
No.
Okay.
No.
All right. So since this segment is called How Does It Work, I'd love to see this in action and see what it's like for a resident to come in and get a permit.
Okay, we have a resident here who wants to get a basement finish permit, so let's take a look.
All right, here we go.
Let's see what we have here. We have a typical floor plan, Mayor, and in this case there are a few things that are missing, so I'm going to ask our client here, Jack, a little bit about it. What about the windows for these new bedrooms?
Those are going to be new windows. I'm going to be putting egress windows in there.
And that's one over here as well?
Yes, and then
Okay.
I'll put one here, and then in this bedroom as well.
I see, okay. Bedrooms in a basement are all required to have egress windows
Okay.
because that's one of the biggest life safety elements that we have in a basement finish. And making sure that some of the older basements that we have these little tiny windows. They're not good for firemen to come in and rescue you or for you to be able to get out of in an emergency, which is why we require them. Okay, I see a few other little items, but this is actually one that we'll be able to go with.
Okay.
Let me put down the information on the square footage.
And so Jack, you just came in today, you had these drawn up, and you're coming in, and so you'll be able to review these and send
Be
them
able
on
to
his way
review
with the
them right
permit?
here.
Wow. That's great.
Which makes it really pretty great for the homeowner that has their small projects. Now, it doesn't always go completely smooth, and there are going to be a few red lines, as I can see here. But it makes it fairly simple to work through the process. And I think we have it right there.
And typically, how much would this type of permit cost?
Well, it's based on the client's valuation, and we have a base figure that we work
okay.
with per square foot. And we look at the comparison of the two. We get our base from the research that is done in the area. And we usually take the higher because if they want to do high-end stuff, well, we don't want to necessarily get that out of the area, which would match our sales tax revenue, which is part of that. Yes, Karen, this looks complete enough that we'll be able to do it here. So
Okay,
here we
I'll
go.
check the ownership and start entering the
Alright.
permit information.
And I'll start with the redlining, because we do have a number of things that we need to redline on this. As you can see, it's fairly blank, but we'll get right into it.
Okay.
Some of the life safety elements that we have are egress windows. It looks like we've got some windows noted And here he has an engineer drawing for how to cut the foundation wall.
Okay.
Important that you do
Very
that properly, otherwise the whole thing can collapse. And we'll have to get a couple other major life safety items like carbon monoxide detection and smoke alarms. They're even handled throughout the entire house, even though you're only working here. Those are the main life safety elements, so that the code and the state law requires us to make sure they're updated throughout the house.
So when you're doing an update on, say, a basement with carbon monoxide and fire, do they need to be hardwired now, or can you still do plug-in?
Wherever possible, you can easily get to the hard wiring. That's what the code requires. But if you have to remove permanent construction to get to it, then the battery operated is still acceptable.
Okay.
One of the things I have here is you have some new water heater and a furnace going in. Are those going to be high efficiency?
I'm not sure. I know they're direct vent, but I'm not sure if they're
That's
high
what we're
efficiency or
talking.
not.
That's what it would be.
Okay.
That doesn't require separate outside combustion air, which would then require that space to be insulated.
Okay.
But that makes it a lot more efficient and a lot easier to get to things, and actually going to save you money as well. All right, the other things that we talked about were smoke alarms, and they would end up being in each bedroom and outside the bedrooms in the general vicinity of the rec room, in this case, down below. But that's also where you end up needing to have a carbon monoxide detector. Not in the bedroom, where a lot of people think that might be the place, but within 15 feet of the entry doors. Because the idea is that if the carbon monoxide is in the bedroom, by the time it goes off, if you're sleeping in there, it might be too late.
Wow.
But as it creeps toward that area, it's drawing it away, that's where you have it outside. And that gets those covered, and it looks pretty good. Now what we do from here is I put a cover sheet, because sometimes we get a drawing like this that just fills the entire page. We have some other stamps we have to put on to show that it's approved. And I have created a little sheet that has some of those generic things like carbon monoxide and smoke alarms. And then in this case, we've also got a bathroom ventilation fan I needed to put in. I want to make sure that I have a dryer vent from the washer and dryer hookup, that we have some lighting that are in the proper areas that are shown, because remember, we didn't have much of electrical. They're going to put it in, but they just didn't show it. So in this case, I have it all laid out for it. And that pretty much covers it, except for one other little item that I like to have in these kind of drawings, and I think I have a copy. Yes, I do, right here. We don't have real dimensions inside the toilet room, and there are specific clearances that you have to have to get access to it. And these are right out of the code book, so I just attach it and then make a general note that just follow those clearances.
So then those notes are helpful to the homeowner as well as the inspector when they come out to make sure.
Exactly.
that
So he
those
has
were
the
done.
information there. We don't expect the homeowner to buy a code book and then have to
Right.
go through 490 pages of that one code. But that's how we put it together, and I have that to go with that piece. I also have a detail that shows how the wall framing is covered and how the insulation on the exterior walls is taken care of, again, to meet energy code, which would be important also in these spaces. So I just attach that to it. It's part of our basement handout, basement finish handout, and that makes a set.
And also, are these available online? So if somebody wanted to, just do their research before, they would find these online?
Yes, we have quite a number of residential homeowner type handouts that can be used by a contractor too.
Okay.
That gives both a narrative telling what we're looking for on the drawings, and then a typical floor plan that would have that information too.
Great.
And then we're pretty much set to go. Just have to pull up the final sheet, sign it off, noting that I do have a few red lines, which is almost impossible to have anything that doesn't need red lines, because we have a few things that just have to happen. And as soon as we get the permit number, we can add that
And
to
I-
it.
I'm
we're all
getting
set
that
to
right
go.
now.
I hear a printer going.
All right, so we've issued this permit, and this homeowner is ready to start his basement finish project.
All right. Well, I hope you invite us over to see it when it's all done.
I will.
I was going to say maybe just in time for Super Bowl, but I don't think.
No.
Not that quickly.
Not that quick.
So then we put all this together,
Yep.
drop it in here, and then give this to you. Now, where do we ask him to place that?
Place it in a window facing the street and access to on the inside by the inspector when he comes out for inspections.
Great.
Right.
Sounds good.
All righty. Thank you
Thank
so
you very
much.
much. Well, you just saw how the permitting process works for a homeowner. I want to thank Doug and Karen for their time and all the folks in our permits department. You can imagine they deal with quite a few different things, from building hospitals to building a fence in somebody's backyard. So thanks for tuning in, and if you ever have any questions, please reach out. Lakewood is a wonderful place because of our wonderful employees. And remember, together we'll do great things.